Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to the Little Reader's house. I'm the Little Reader, and guess where you are? Just guess. I mean, this is really a no holds barred, take it away. Where do you think you are? You're in my house. You are in my house, and what a pleasure it is to have you. Here, have a cup of love and a blanket, unless, of course, it's hot. Air conditioner for you. And just get comfy. Comfy in the form. Comfy, if possible, in the realm of mind. And just present, right here. You and me and you. Let's talk to Spirit a little bit. Let's see what's going on in the ethers. Let's get a feel. Let's channel. Let's do the thing. I don't know about you, sweet soul, but when I witness a channeler, there's a transmission of energy that seems to supersede. Ooh, do you hear that horn outside? It seems to supersede the language that's being used, the verbiage, and instead it's a transmission of energy, a transmission of clarity, a transmission of peace. And that is what we seek to do right here in this little house. So thanks for being here, and I hope you're able to feel wave after wave of love hit you and caress you and uplift you over the course of the next few minutes, or however long. Let me check the time. However long this thing runs, we leave it up to Spirit. All right, let's rock and roll. Someone out there in many bodies is saying, but can I trust myself? But can I even trust myself? And Spirit is here filling the space. Just a delectable energy of absolute witnessing of you. And Spirit's saying yes. 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 Is there a better way to say it? No. The answer is yes. If you're wondering, beautiful soul, can I even trust myself? What the insert expletive of choice is going on here on this planet in my life? Can I even trust myself? Can I trust myself to lead myself to joy, to peace, to community, to camaraderie, to passion, sensuality, inspiration, laughter, adventure, enthusiasm, mystery, discovery, curiosity? Can I even trust myself? Because so far, and I'm channeling a viewer right now, it could be you, my sweet friend. It could be the person next to you too. Because all I've done thus far is lead myself into loneliness, confusion, poverty, sadness, overwhelm, stress, self-loathing, injury, isolation. Frozen in pain, suffering. And I'm seeing the image of Han Solo in Kryptonite. Is it? Nope, that we just super mixed too. That would be Superman. Wait a second. Han Solo in, don't tell me. In. Man, he wasn't in Kryptonite? Han Solo's not Superman? In my book, he is. In any case, he's frozen. Let me know down below what it is. Please, help a little reader out. But I see the image. Frozen in suffering. So, we've got souls out here saying, can I even trust myself? Because look where I've gotten myself. So Spirit's rolling in, gentle and strong, soft and fierce, tender and passionate, to say yes. And here's why. Also, Unakite, right? Is that how we pronounce this baby? Looks like the earth to me, somehow. Can't really explain that, but gorgeous. Asked to be part of the transmission, so can't say no to that. Here's why you can trust yourself. First, Spirit wants to take a load off of your plate and your shoulders. Wherever the load presently is, take that for what it's worth. Spirit would like to just alleviate it. Guilt is this concept, this idea, a half form, straight from the realm of half forms, which we talk about all the time here at the Little Reader's House. It's a thought, bling, guilt, that somehow I, the Little Reader, have the power to remove myself from the path. Somehow I have the power to create my own suffering. This idea comes from the idea, an even broader umbrella idea right above it, that we are in control. There's a lot to that, and we've explored it in another transmission, so you can rewind back down the history of the Little Reader's transcript if you'd like to. But suffice it to say, Spirit would like to relieve you of your guilt right now and say, sweet soul, beautiful, beautiful, glorious me, who you are, I'm in control. Not me. Spirit. Spirit is in control. So you could try to take ownership for what you've done in your life, but it puts us in a very interesting position. Let's take a look. According to Spirit, there are only two ways of being: conscious, awake, or unconscious, mimis, sleepy time. And Spirit, for the record, has no issue with either of these. Spirit sees these both as divine, and both will fulfill their purpose, if you can believe that. The only thing Spirit wants us to know about these two ways of being is that one is blissful and enjoyable, and the other one sucks shit, to put it respectfully and, in a classy fashion. So over here, what does it mean to be awake? Plink. To be awake, to be conscious, means to be in the observer position, to have remembered that you, beautiful soul, are not the form, as gorgeous or repulsive as you may judge it to be. It's not you. You have a temporary possession of it. It's not you. It's like owning a car or a house. It's all great until it burns down, and then you're like, oh, I guess that wasn't me. When you are awake, when you are conscious, you are in the remembrance of your true identity, being the awareness that lives within. So you dwell in that space. And when you're conscious, the experience of life is like watching a movie. Now, what does that mean, like watching a movie? When I say that, it's like so, like, Little Reader, what? I get it. I'm listening to myself talk as I talk, and I don't even understand it. So, let's bring it in. Oh, yeah, right side of the nostril. That means something to somebody. When you're watching your life as a movie, you are sitting in a position as awareness somewhere around or within yourself. But you are not swept up in the drama to the degree that you forget that you're outside of it. What the moment-to-moment experience of being awake or being conscious feels like is watching patterns unfold before your very eyes. You wake up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy, or not. You go make yourself coffee, let's say. You take your morning siesta in the bathroom. What it feels like to be conscious in these moments is you are hovering within or around yourself, watching your form do this. You are watching it intently. There really isn't much room for thoughts. You can kind of hear them like ambient white noise in the background, but you are in this watching perspective. You watch yourself do your thing with the toilet. You watch yourself brush your teeth. You watch yourself move to coffee, and you're just watching the patterns. This is what being awake or conscious feels like in the day-to-day. And if it's not watching the patterns, sometimes the patterns will just stop. Because when you watch a pattern, it becomes conscious that it's being watched, which creates all kinds of room for infinite miracles to happen. That's something else for another time. But sometimes the pattern will stop. And then it's the form witnessing the witness, which is you, witnessing the form. And in these moments, something really explosive happens. Bliss. Peace. And you realize, okay, from this space of the witness watching the form, and then the form looking back at the witness, divine looking at divine, from here, I can do anything. And at that juncture, your heart can take you wherever your destiny wants it to take you. Radical. That's what it's like to be awake. That's what it's like to be conscious in the day-to-day. So that's option A. Throw that out or somewhere. We'll circle back. Option B, unconscious or asleep. This, when you wake up in the morning, again, possibly feeling like P. Diddy, you are already on a treadmill of thoughts. Okay, I got my morning routine. Okay, and you know you're not awake when you're really still in the mental realm, going through motions. It's a lot different than watching yourself. You're going through motions, you go to the bathroom and you do your thing, with the toilet maybe, or the shower or your toothbrush, whatever your thing may be. And you're not thinking about what you're doing. You're nowhere near present. You might make a mental note like, yes, somewhere in my brain I'm aware that I'm brushing my teeth. But what I'm really thinking about is I got to make coffee next. Or am I going to have time to squeeze in a yoga session? Or why is Sally such a bitch? Or just all the things. Or God, why did my mom say that? Or looking in the mirror as you're brushing your teeth, just radically judging your form. Like, am I always going to be a hideous beast? Like, it's unconscious. It's asleep because the witness, which is really you, is not being activated. The remembrance is asleep. So that just goes away. The witness is always there, of course, as long as you're animating this form. Your true essence, your awareness is always with you. But in these instances where we're unconscious, we are having patterning play out, but we're in the patterning. We're not watching the patterning. So we're not watching a movie. We're fully participating in it. And again, Spirit sees no issue with that. In the spiritual community where we are allegedly worshiping the great divine, we really poo-poo unconsciousness. Whereas Spirit is like, are you kidding me? I gave you free will so that you could choose to be conscious or unconscious and have fun. Sometimes you want to be immersed in the pattern. Sometimes you want to have full buy into the moment and the drama. Sometimes the thrill of being in human form is really getting your heart rate up, worrying if you're going to make it to work on time or not. That's part of the thrill. So Spirit's like, hey, do that thing. Same with being conscious. That consciousness is always going to be there for you, and so is unconsciousness. There's also this fear that if you choose to be conscious, you're going to lose all the joy of being unconscious. The good news is you don't lose any joy in becoming conscious. It only amplifies exponentially. So that's the good news. Interestingly, there have been entire books and ancient texts written about this, even referred to as the good news. But somehow the mind manages to twist it up and get people memes again, buying into beliefs and ideas and identities, because the mind is also trying to hog your awareness. The mind wants a piece of you. So again, we talk about this in many past transmissions. We're just casually brushing over the basics. But you have either consciousness, awakeness, or unconsciousness, asleepness, and in Spirit's eyes, equal and beautiful. Spirit just knows that when you're over here, conscious and awake, it's a much more blissful experience, and Spirit actually gets to commune with you and play with you and make miracles happen. So Spirit does get a little bit lonely sometimes because it's a very low, little thread amount of the population who's in this at this point in time-space reality. But that is why Spirit told my ass to sit down here and talk to you. So evidently that's changing, and it's changing fast, and we love to see it. When we're talking about guilt, we assume that we have some kind of control. So we're circling back to the initial energetic sadness of this feeling of, I am guilty because I've chosen wrong in my life, and I can't trust myself as a result of this. Strangely, the words honey boo boo are coming out of my mouth right now. So if that's comforting to anyone out there, honey boo boo. No, you didn't choose anything wrong. Let's look at these two things again. When you are conscious and awake, there is no judgment involved. So there's absolutely no room for guilt. You're simply witnessing patterns. You're observing them. You're not judging them. Again, you are literally watching a movie. When you're in witness mode, you may even find yourself third-personing your form and going, oh, look at her brushing her teeth. Let's see, will she choose to floss today or not? And then you just watch. There's no effort to control being made. And when the patterns cease and you have this moment, I believe the yogis call it samadhi. It's like this blissful witnessing of just form looking at the divine, looking at form, and everything's divine. There's still no room for guilt. In that moment, again, it's explosive creation time. So individuals in this category, they not capable of feeling guilt, which means that if guilt is at play, for some reason this is amusing to me, but if guilt is at play, then we know that there is some unconsciousness. There is some sleeping, quite a bit actually, going on here, because it assumes that you are responsible for your patterns. But let's take a moment and analyze this with our mind. So everyone, grab the realm of mind and bring it on board. Mind, you get to play. We're going to analyze you. You have a job right now. If you look at patterns, they were not started by you. And you have absolutely no control over your patterns, interestingly. Let me rephrase that. Your mind, which is likely how any unconscious sleeper identifies, is as their mind through their mind. That's the only way you get to buy into the drama of your life, is if you're identifying as mind. So when we look at your patterns, it's essential to understand your mind has no control of your patterns. So it's really an interesting, perhaps the word is dichotomy or phenomenon. It's an interesting happening. Your patterns begin with your parents or your caregivers. Their patterns begin with their parents or their caregivers. Their patterns begin with their parents or their caregivers. Their patterns begin with their parents or their caregivers. Their patterns begin with their parents or their caregivers. You getting me? Their patterns begin with their parents and their caregivers all the way back to the very first sentient human. And maybe the patterns go back even beyond that. We'll dive into that another time because that feels juicy. Your mind wants you to believe that because you have the ability to connect to the realm of mind and watch half forms float by, that somehow you have the ability to control these patterns. Interestingly, the patterns are what make you a match for the thoughts, the half forms that are allowed to go through your mind. So the mind is here imposing guilt on you, beautiful soul, for not doing enough, not being enough, you can't trust yourself. You can't, because the mind said so. But the mind is the great judge. Interestingly, the mind leaves no room for the possibility that you were not meant to change your patterns, and that you have no power to change your patterns as long as you're identifying as the mind. Of course, the mind, who is like, respectfully, a little bit like a jilted lover, always wanting your attention and love and presence. Of course, it doesn't want to reveal this, because that would mean you take your awareness away and place it in this witness observance perspective. And when we do that, the realm of mind loses another captive, darling, which is not its favorite thing. Again, everything that feels separate from love in this universe, which the realm of mind certainly does, wants your attention and will be sad to lose it. The truth of the matter, according to Spirit, is that your mind is not responsible for your patterns, cannot change your patterns. If that were true, it would have hacked everything a long time ago, and we'd all be rich, fit, partnered, just you name all the things that the mind wants, and then wham, you get it. The mind will have you believe that it has the power to change your patterns, but it doesn't. All it has the power. All it has the patterns. Yeah, first of all, the mind's a product of patterns. Don't forget that. But all it has the power to do is show you unmanifested reality. Again, based on the patterns that are already in you. What? So, guilt, beautiful soul. Spirit wants to relieve you of it, because you as awareness are guilt-free. You as awareness are pure. You as awareness are infinite. You as awareness, powerful. And you've never made any kind of mistake. And you're beyond judgments. You're the witness. You're the one who sees, not the one who does, not the one who makes things happen, and not the one who thinks. Thinking. What even is that? It's peering up at the realm of mind and watching half forms go by, or constructing new ones. It's not a pattern changer. So no more guilt, beautiful soul. Your patterns weren't meant to be changed, forced into something else. They are the product of all who came before them, and they will continue to echo through all time and space until they're observed with complete, loving, non-judgmental awareness. Now, back to the matter at hand. Can you trust yourself? Well, who's asking? Spirit says, if you trust the mind, you'll always get the same thing. It may have slightly different forms, but you will see the same patterns repeat over and over again. The mind is not capable of choosing outside of the patterns that are creating it. So if you're asking if you can trust yourself, but you're referring to the mind, you can trust it to replicate exactly what you've already experienced. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. Some people are born into luxurious lives that cause them no sufferings, and they really don't mind replicating those patterns. But others of us are born into really uncomfortable, not so delicious patterning that we would like to not continue to experience anymore. So if that's the case and you're looking for a pattern interrupt, beautiful soul, that is when we do the old switcheroo to consciousness. Ding! May I interest you in this shiny product called Wake Up? But no rush, beautiful soul, no rush. This is only for individuals who are looking to break patterns. You get to bask in the patterns for as long as you want. We all do. I do. Man, thank God this is not a personal show where I talk about my life. Hey. Patterns be patterning. So, you're in good company, beautiful soul. But if you want to trust yourself, it requires remembering who you are. You are not the form. You are not the mind. Follow those two things, and you can trust yourself to repeat what you've already experienced. For infinity. And, yeah. For infinity. But choose to slip into that witness mode. Choose to play as the divine witness. And then you start to wake up. And as you wake up, you start to watch the patterns, as we discussed before, with absolutely no judgment. And then you begin to hear something you've never heard before. You hear the call of your heart. And your heart, the source of all love, the housing unit for your aliveness. The heart has the pattern breaking tools. It has the instructions to take you out of repetitious existence, if you want. Again, like, no obligation here. Literally none. This is all free stuff we're talking about. Take it, leave it, eat it. You know? When you hear the call of your heart, what happens for the day of a being who has cultivated the witness perspective is that the patterns do stop. Eventually, there are no more teeth to brush, even if you have this many. There are no more hours at work. There's no one nagging on you, distracting you. No offense, we love people so much. But the world's not pulling on you, and the patterns stop, and you're brought to stillness. And if you're in that witness seat watching, the entire universe turns back to look at you now. And it says, Master, what should we do? And that's when the heart pipes up and says, this. And when you get that direction, patterns shatter. Life shifts. Things change. But it's not a matter of willpower. It's not a matter of fantasizing in the realm of mind. It's not a matter of any kind of escapism or self-punishment. What self are you punishing? You're punishing the form that was given to you, this temporary thing. When you come awake, when you come alive, when you come conscious, you can trust yourself because you finally remember yourself. You have the lightning bolt to the brain. The Frankenstein monster is awake. And it is like coming back to life. This is a rebirth. It is a whoa moment. So can you trust yourself? Absolutely. Just make sure you know who you're talking about when you say yourself. Because as long as you're referring to the mind, you can trust it to take you to the past. As long as you're referring to the form, you can trust it to take you in the direction of pleasure at any cost. But if you're referring to the heart, and you're referring to yourself as awareness, now we're playing a different game. An actual game. Where you win immediately in that shift. Immediately you win. Now, before we go, darling, because our time is nigh, so many souls feel defeated by the fleeting nature of the witness perspective. Like it's so momentary and we can't get a grasp on it, so it doesn't feel real. Maybe we can't even comprehend it intellectually. Like, oh, the witness. But sweet soul, it is very real. And when it happens to you, or should I say you happen to it, it'll knock your little sockies right off your little feetsies if you got them. And then you start to realize there's no other way to live. There's never going to be anything more pleasurable, more magical. But how do we get there? The mind always wants instant. Of course it does. Because the mind knows that only it, the mind, can provide instant gratification in the way that we are most familiar with it. Is a dopamine hit. Oh, we think a thought. Feels so good. Oh, I like it. The mind knows, as long as I can promise or demand instant gratification, I will remain in control. Because I'm the only one who can do that. Right. True. I'm not arguing. And we love you for that, beautiful mind. Love you. The mind always wants a panacea. It always wants a quick fix. Because it knows by requesting such a thing, you will never find such a thing. And so it gets to keep you with it in the realm of mind. Little love affair. And that's fine. Again, Spirit's not asking us to leave it. Spirit's just saying, hey, there are other options. Here's what I'm telling you. As the little reader now. It takes practice, beautiful soul. It takes practice. And I know that is like the most disheartening bullshit that we can ever hear. When we want something, we need something now. It is. That's some disheartening stuff. And yet, that's the truth. For those who learned to walk as children, that was not an overnight process. For those who learned to speak, not an overnight process. For those who had the great privilege of growing into adults, not an overnight process. For those who have ever completed a creative project, not an overnight process. For those who have ever changed their form through the loving act of self-care, not an overnight process. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? You picking it up what I'm putting down? Good. It takes practice. And that's what meditation is, beautiful soul. That is the whole point of what meditation is. If you ever wondered, why people do that, why the hell do people just sit still? That's what they're doing. Is they're practicing, finding their awareness, saying, where am I? Where do you go, my lovely? And then they bring that bad, non-gendered awareness back to somewhere. They either place it in that realm of heart or they just watch where it is. That is the practice. That is what meditation is. It is practice. It is the practice of remembering. And you might say, well, little reader, why do we need to practice remembering if that's who we really are? Sounds more like brainwashing to me. Yes, I know, you did brainwash that toddler into walking, you naughty. I understand. Believe me, more than you know. I get that. But we have to practice because when it comes to thousands of years of believing that we are mind, sometimes it can take a couple of minutes to remember that we're not. I will add to that, though. Spontaneous remembering has and does continue to happen. Sometimes individuals who have never practiced meditation a day in their life are raptured into a state of remembrance. Little things can do this. Psychedelic substances can sometimes do this. Near-death experiences can sometimes do this. But you don't have to rely on anything but sitting your glorious form down somewhere and practicing. So, long answer to a short question. Can you trust yourself, beautiful soul? Yes, you can. As long as you remember who you are. And that is where we're leaving it today. It has been an honor, a pleasure to channel spirit with you. Thank you so much for being here, old or new, whether you've got a key to my house as a subscriber or you just stopped in to see what all the fuss is about. It's been a gift. I'm wishing you a glorious rest of wherever you're headed, wherever you are, and I'm sending you all the love I got. More love, never less, because you are so very worthy of it. Bye for now. Hey, you're still here, beautiful soul. There's dust in the air. Sorry, I'm just clearing it. Well, hey, hi, hello. I think that's the name of a band. But you're still here, you and Unakai both. Well, that's amazing. I'm answering 2 specific questions that Spirit wanted me to address that came through on other videos. So if you care to stay, listen, and hold space, you're so very welcome. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next one. This first question that we've got goes like this. Hello, Amanda. Can you please do a video on the energy on full moons? I am aware that the full moon is supposed to give us psychic energy and it is good to meditate under its light. However, on each full moon, I feel drained and super tired. It happens on every full moon day each month. It's as if the moon is sucking my energy in order for it to shine bright. I want to know if that's normal and if anyone is like me. So, first of all, thank you so much for the question. Thank you for being here, for being part of the community. for taking the time to write that out and share it with all of us. That is greatly appreciated. So thank you. Sirens going off in your honor. And if anyone heard that and has a position and an experience, please address down below. Now, I'd like to channel spirit for this one specifically and see what is going on. So, spirit, the energy of full moons. Talk to us. Okay, we're getting some poetry here. A full moon bright, meant to illuminate the darkest of night. And grant us insight. So, when the moon is full, it is illuminating what's normally hidden, what's normally in the dark. And it's a filtered version of light. It's not direct sun, as we know. It's filtered. Spiritually speaking, when this happens, Spirit's always with the paradoxes. It's got a twofold thing, and they kind of work in opposition. On the one hand, it's illuminating everything that's been kept in the dark, everything that hasn't been made manifest yet, everything that typically is hiding, or things that were sown, seeds that were sown when it was completely dark. So that's over here. And then on the other side, it is making the darkness more powerful. It is giving darkness energy by giving it the awareness of light. But that's a filtered awareness. It's not the light of the sun directly. It's an indirect light. So even as it reveals what's already present, it's also magnifying the power of the darkness and the shadow within every individual. So what Spirit's saying is this is going to work differently depending on where an individual is on their journey, where they are on their path. If they are very consciously present with that which is darkest within them, patterns of destruction. So a million things fall into the category of patterns of destruction. As behaviors, this could be addictions. It could be insecurities. It could be hurting the form, actually destroying the form. It could be destructive thoughts in the mind. It could be abuse or being the victim of abuse. It could be predatory. Whatever the darkness is there, the full moon is giving that darkness power to rise up, power to emerge and take over. And Spirit says any attempt made to suppress such a power will only lead to the drain in our energy. Oof. If the individual is conscious of these things, even when the moon is not full, every night, if they are actively participating in what the spiritual community refers to as shadow work, which is swimming through the dark and shining light on things as they arise, when they arise, they are going to find that the full moon instead increases their energy. It gives them the power they need to shine even more brightly on those shadow elements. So, if you find yourself in the camp, because evidently there is one, of individuals who feel empowered on a full moon, you know that's because the ray of awareness is constantly shining on that. Day in, day out, shadow work is at play. And there's also no fear of the darkness there. In fact, there's a love of the darkness. And for some individuals who are particularly attuned to shadow work, they have this love of the darkness. It's not an obsession, but it is an acceptance. They don't fear that which they don't understand. If we find ourselves in this camp where we're feeling overwhelmed and drained by the light of the full moon as if it's taking something from us. It is, in fact, animating shadows and characteristics and qualities that we don't typically pay heed to, that we don't typically shine our light on. And now those characteristics and qualities, those fractured parts within us of our consciousness that have not been looked at, rise up, and they are overpowering, or they are throwing off kilter the inner equilibrium that we're so used to carrying at every other time of the month. So Spirit's advice is, if you're feeling drained by this, if you're feeling drained by this full moon energy, it's a wonderful time to implement fearless, courageous shadow work every other day of the month, and begin to make a sort of love to the darkness. When the night falls, I think this is the beginning of the song, but I don't know. When the night falls, make a practice of getting in tune with the shadow. And there's so many ways to do shadow work. Links abound on the World Wide Web, but a great place to start is in meditation. And we just get present, and we ask for the light of our consciousness to shine on something that we're afraid of, something that bothers us, some kind of destructive pattern within us. And we witness. And as we shine our light on that, we take back ownership of it. So later, when the full moon shines as an external metaphor for what's happening within us, later when the full moon shines in the sky, it is a culmination of all the shining that we've been doing through the lens of our awareness. And we're empowered by it, and maybe even feeling wildly energized by it. So that's the message Spirit brings to the table, beautiful soul. Thank you so much for asking. News to me. So thank you for asking. Now I've got a little more information in my realm of mind that can be contributed for however it's helpful to whoever it's helpful. Here's the next question. This is in response to a transmission called Spirit wants you to surrender control and not believe that you ever had any, or something to that effect. The comment goes like this. What if you surrender for like 4 years and things only get worse during that time? I think it's time to take control because Spirit has shown me nothing and given me no support. Beautiful soul. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for writing that. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for the expression of heart. It is greatly appreciated. And I'm sending you and our other querent so much love. Let's talk. Let's let Spirit talk, because that's a great question. What does surrender mean to you, beautiful soul? Does it mean throwing hands up in the air and letting life pull you in whatever direction it would like? Does it mean surrendering to the preset patterning that's already locked into place from your ancestral line? That preset patterning including childhood traumas, ancestral traumas, indoctrination to any variety of beliefs, social, familial. What does it mean to you to surrender? When Spirit says surrender, it means to understand that you haven't done anything wrong, first and foremost. Even if life hasn't gone remotely how you've planned. It could be the biggest steaming pile of doo-doo, according to the world, that's ever existed, and Spirit still says you haven't done anything wrong. All that's happened is that patterns have played out. Patterns you were never in control of anyway. Because as soon as your awareness, which is you, entered into this form, the patterns were set. You're carrying genetic code here. That is nothing but patterns. Your destiny was already laid out before you. So, you didn't do anything wrong. Whether you threw your hands up in the air or you maintained optimistic, positive outlook. And you looked around and said, I'm doing my best, I'm doing all I can, and I'll just surrender to whatever occurs. Either way, you didn't do anything wrong. You made no mistakes. But Spirit wants you to know that the pattern isn't wrong either. The pattern, as much as the world may not like it, and as much suffering as it creates, whether it's loneliness, poverty, never being able to rise up above a certain level, never being able to accomplish what the mind tells you you're supposed to accomplish, or the way the mind likes to package it up, you're meant to accomplish. You're capable of accomplishing your potential to accomplish. The pattern's not wrong either. And the pattern is simple mathematics. Humanity began at some point, humanity will end at some point, and in that space, patterns will exist. And the more diverse the population becomes, the more interesting and delectable and different and enchanting the patterns will be. And Spirit doesn't judge them as good or bad. So, when we say it's time to take back control, what do we mean by that? How do we define taking back control? Does it mean flipping the bird to Spirit and losing the positive approach? Does it mean no longer surrendering to what happens, instead fighting it, bucking it, like a bucking bronco? No, no, no! There's a lot of teeth gritting going on there. What does it mean to take back control, and what does it mean to surrender? It's important to understand how we're defining these terms, because Spirit's definition of taking control is the same as it is surrendering. To Spirit, to surrender simply means that you won't judge the patterns anymore. You'll stand outside of them and you'll witness them. And in doing so, you will activate the control, because it always belonged to your awareness. It never belonged to your mind, and it never belonged to your form. And in this trifecta of existence, the mind will constantly try to convince you that you have control. You as a mind have control. No. As we discussed in our transmission today, the mind is a product of the same patterns that run our life. So it may try to convince you of any little thing it likes. But all you've got to do is go out into the world and ask some people, and you'll realize nobody has control, as long as they're identifying as a mind or as a form. So what Spirit wishes for you, sweet soul, is to know that you are unconditionally loved and supported, and that you are loved, that you cannot lose the connection to love no matter what you do, no matter what tact you take, no matter what attitude you choose to adopt or discard, no matter what, whether you stay with patterns and you watch them, or you fight them, or you buck them, or you love them, or you hate them, or you try to create new ones which will just be versions of the old ones that are at a different rate of speed, or whether you choose to identify as awareness and remember that you are the animating life force within the form and the mind. You're not the mind and the form. But that remembrance will be a practice, and it will require practice. It's not instantaneous for most. Irrespective of what you choose, Spirit has got your back in every way. And Spirit won't promise to answer the prayers of the mind, because those prayers are just perpetuating patterns. And Spirit won't promise to grant the wishes of the form, because those wishes are just asking for pleasure. And Spirit knows that your soul and your heart came here to experience bliss, which is beyond pleasure, and it's beyond patterns. So Spirit won't stop until you've gotten there, now or later. What Spirit will do is grant you every dream of your heart. And that might sound scary if you've never gotten in there before. But that's Spirit's promise. That requires a remembrance of who you are, really. So, until we meet again, sweet soul, I am sending both of our querents and everyone who watched this segment all the love I've got. And I am wishing you bliss beyond the pleasure of the form, beyond the satisfaction of the mind, which never lasts for more than a millisecond. Anyway, bliss is what I wish for you. And I'm sending you all the love I got.